The time is now 5:50. Good evening and welcome to the November 12th, 2025 Operations, Budget, and Fiscal Affairs Committee meeting. I am Zakia Goins-McCants, Committee Chair and District 8 Board Member. It brings me great pleasure to welcome everyone to tonight's meeting. For those unable to observe now, the meeting is being recorded and will be available for later viewing on the PGCPS YouTube channel. Ms. Conley, please call the roll.
Ms. Goins-McCants,
Present.
Ms. Brown, Ms. Ajike, Dr. Anderful,
Present.
Ms. Walker,
Present.
Chair Jackson. There are 3 present.
Thank you. With a quorum present, the Operations, Budget, and Fiscal Affairs Committee meeting will come to order. If there are no objections, the committee shall adopt the November 12th, 2025 meeting agenda as distributed. There being no objections, the November 12th, 2025 meeting agenda is adopted. If there are no corrections, the October 15th, 2025 meeting minutes shall be approved as distributed. There being no corrections, the minutes are approved. We have no public comment for tonight. And with that, we will move on to our Food and Nutrition Services update, and the chair recognizes Dr. Coleman, our Chief Operations Officer.
Good evening, and thank you, Board Committee Chair Goins-McCants and members of the board and community stakeholders. The Food and Nutrition Services Department has worked hard to expand the available options to feed students. Given the recent federal government furloughs' impact on families, this work is extremely important. I will turn it over now to Director Mary Kirkland to provide several key food services updates.
Thank you, Dr. Coleman.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. Good evening. My name is Mary Kirkland. I'm the Director for Food Nutrition Services. So starting off, our farm's eligibility for this year has increased by 3.29%. So we now have 60.42% of our students who are receiving free and reduced price meals across the county. And this work has been crucial to our department in terms of ensuring that families have information for those who have been furloughed, as well as just CEP schools knowing the benefits that their students get in addition to getting free meals through CEP, but also the benefits they get from completing a meal benefit application. In addition, as you all may have heard, Food Nutrition, we have expanded our supper program to include a hot supper option for our students. And currently, up to date, we have about 15 schools that are participating in the program and more that do plan to participate as well too, that we have to process their paperwork. The requirement for this is that they have at least 75 students enrolled in the after school program as a whole, meaning that they have 3 programs where they have at least 25 students each, then that school is eligible for the hot supper option. Our goal with this is to provide another meal to our students, whether they are participating in after school activities, but for those who just may be impacted with the different things that have been coming out in terms of SNAP benefits and things of that nature. So we want to make sure that we provide this to our students as an option for them at the end of the day. It does have to be eaten on site. And we've been working with a lot of the school principals and administrators to ensure that they meet the requirements so that we can increase that number across the county as well too. In addition, we have increased our Maryland Meals for Achievement breakfast program as well. And so currently, as of today, we have 103 schools that are participating in this. And what this does offer to our students is that if a school has 40% of identified students as free and reduced, they are eligible. However, sorry, excuse me. Right now, we have at least 49% of our schools that we're providing breakfast at no cost to the student. In addition to the SNAP benefits, just giving you guys an update on that. There's no disruption to the meal status of our students. Those who qualify for free and reduced meals will continue to get free and reduced meals for the remainder of the school year. Students who are approved for free meals, they will continue to get free meals as well. CEP schools, they are not impacted. They will keep their CEP status throughout the remainder of the school year. And additionally, 4 more years after that. So until 2029, our schools are locked in at that CEP rate for those CEP schools, so they will not be impacted. In addition, our families who are affected by furloughs, they can do a meal benefit application with their current income to therefore get an updated meal status. So then they may qualify for free and reduced meals. And once they do that, regardless if the government does open back up, they will remain at that with that meal benefit status of free or reduced or paid, whichever it may come to be. And also like our after school programs, they are available. And we just ask that schools reach out to us if they want to start an after school program. And all of this does impact school meal debt because with the addition of the breakfast program, what we hope to see is that that does help that balance not necessarily increase because those students now receive free breakfast. However, as of November 3rd, we are at $351,545. But we are working diligently with schools, administrators notifying them of that balance, ensuring that those letters go home with students. At elementary schools, it's twice a week. At the secondary level, it is once a week, where we are notifying the schools, and those letters should be sent home with parents notifying them of the unpaid meal balance. And it also lets them know that they can complete a meal benefit application to ensure that they have the most up-to-date meal benefit status for their students. Also, we did our first taste test this year with the student member of the board and her advisory council, where we taste test 5 different new menu options with our students: a Korean barbecue sauce, a General Tso chicken, all beef meatball. And we are wanting to introduce the JTM plant-borne taco filling and the JTM plant-borne pasta sauce so that we can ensure that we have available options for our vegan vegetarian students. And so with the results of that, we looked at the overall percentage favored, the appearance, the texture, the taste, and the smell. And these are all results from students of various schools, whether it's middle school, high schools, and elementaries, as well as some administration that was at the school, as well as parents who came as well. And so the final results was that our students, they really enjoyed the Korean barbecue meatballs. They had an 87.50% of overall percentage, and the JTM plant-borne taco filling had a 100% overall favorite, where the students really enjoyed the taste, the texture, the smell, and the appearance of it. And so one of our goals this year is that before we actually make changes to our menu, we want to complete taste tests with students, and we want to have an 80% or more overall satisfaction before we put something new on our menu. So these are 2 items that have reached that criteria, and so therefore we will be moving forward with placing those new items on our menu for our students, and also filling a gap in our menu for our vegan vegetarian students. And thank you. That is all.
Thank you so much. Board members, do we have any questions? Dr. Anderful?
Yes, I just wanted to say thanks for sharing this information. I think like many, many are concerned and curious about just the impact of of what's happening in the landscape on what will be provided to our students. So I'm just curious to hear any external communication that you've had with families and community members about this information. I did recently see like a newsletter that was sent out on behalf of the administration about this, but I'm wondering if you've heard any feedback directly from anyone regarding these concerns, specifically around SNAP and what would be provided to students.
So it's been an ongoing conversation, but we have had parents reach out to our office in regards to the SNAP benefits so that they understand if their student is impacted. And so we've been, as the calls come into our office or we get the emails, we have been responsive in just informing parents more of what it means for their students as it relates to school meals and ensuring them that their students will continue to get a meal when they come to school and their meals benefit status has not changed, but also for our furloughed parents, making sure that they understand that they can complete an application. And at times we've walked them through it as well. In addition, we just finished our verification process for parents. And so with that, we know that there are, we may have parents who didn't meet the income guidelines, the updated income guidelines for this year. However, we have reached out to them to let them know that they can resubmit an application. And we've talked to MSD, but they can reapply with the application so that they can get an updated status because their income has changed throughout the verification process, especially for those that have been furloughed.
And
Oh,
if
sorry.
no, you're fine. And if I could just add, Dr. Anderful, thank you for that question. Director Kirkland has been working directly with our communications department and had the opportunity to be on media outlets like Fox 5. She's participated in joint press conferences with the county executive and county council to get the word out in addition to the communications that have gone out from our Office of Communications to inform parents about eligibility for food services.
Thank you.
Thank you. I also had the same question, so I didn't have a follow-up. Board Member Walker.
Yes. Oh, did you call me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, thank you so much. Yes. I saw Ms. Morrison's hand up, so I said, but really quickly, one of the things that I was gonna say too, don't we also, I think there was a note that was also sent out about supper. That's also happening as well. I know it came on the screen, but that's something else that's also happening for our scholars. But anything we can do to help with the communication of that, I know an email came out, but those icon thumbnails that we can put on socials and continue to put inside of our newsletters will be extremely helpful so that we can also help get the word out.
Much agreed. Director Morrison, you wanted to add something?
You know, I did have something related to SNAP, that's fine, and I might probably table mine because it's really more along the lines of preservatives, and I know we don't have a lot of time, so I will talk to Ms. Kirkland after. So thank you, though.
No worries. Thank you so much for being willing to your expertise. Board Member Walker?
I know, I'm so sorry. And we don't have to talk about it tonight, but I know we have a lot going on in food and nutrition, but I'm going to look at Dr. Coleman again and say thank you for all the conversations we've had in the past about no dairy, the non-dairy milk. So maybe we would have an opportunity to lean back into that in the near future. That would be amazing. I know it's not part of what we're talking about tonight, but it would be amazing to be able to lean back into that one.
Well, to give you an update on that, we have reached out to our vendors to get samples. So we do have samples, but we're just making sure that when we get them, that they meet the guidelines, our updated guidelines for sugar, to ensure that they don't impact our menu. But we're also looking at the shelf stable option as well too. So it has not fallen on deaf ears. It is something where action is being taken behind it, but we're just doing our due diligence to make sure that the product that we're getting, it serves our students and it also meets the guidelines that we have to follow.
This is great news.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for
She
updating
beat me
us.
to the punch to say that we were talking about it. So hey, we didn't forget the conversation.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, this is probably too much information, but I'm a vegan and I've been a vegan for many years. So that's not something that we're gonna let go. We're gonna stay focused on it.
Much, much appreciated for that continued focus. And with that, recognize Dr. Coleman again for our Department of Sustainability and Resiliency update.
Yeah, thank you so much again, Board Committee Chair Goins McCants. The Department of Sustainability and Resilience is focused on the implementation of the Board of Education approved Climate Change Action Plan. From investing in renewable energy to tracking our buildings' energy performance data in an effort to inform future decision making. At this time, Director Dorothy Morrison is here to provide progress updates.
Thank you, Dr. Coleman. Good evening, everyone, Board Committee Chair and others. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Can everyone see it?
Right now, we see a Zoom. We see it saying Zoom, not the.
Okay, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Can you see it now?
Yes, we can. And
Okay,
if you could put it in presentation mode, then
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do right now. Just move this out of here. Can everyone see that?
perfect.
Okay. All right, so let me go ahead to the next one. As Dr. Coleman mentioned, the CCAP does have a number of priority action items, but for the purposes of tonight, I will only be focusing on energy management efforts, which are pretty much centered around our building carbon footprint reduction, as well as renewable energy sources, a commitment to developing or using renewable energy sources. Again, to remind everyone, we do have the CCAP commitments that we are trying to align with, but then there are also, I guess, state requirements that we have to adhere to, and there are various targets, such as reducing our greenhouse gases by 2045 to net zero, and all LEAs are required to take into consideration building efficiencies, and the state is requiring that we make investments to reflect that and be able to monitor those investments as well as report on them annually. So there's a building energy performance, I guess, otherwise known as BEPS, that we have to report annually. Right now, the focus is on administrative spaces that are 35,000 square feet and above. So moving on to the next. So obviously trying to meet these state as well as CCAP requirements. This slide here just represents where we're at to date in terms of our renewable energy investments. So in terms of our geothermal systems, we have 11 that are operational, we have 7 that are planned. And in terms, I do have a list of those schools. I could provide a link. I thought I had included it on the slide, but I didn't. But I will provide a link to those schools. So if for those who are interested in, seems like I'm frozen. Can you guys hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So, yes, I can provide those schools for those who are interested. With regards to our solar systems, we have 5 that are operational right now. We have 6 that are in progress of being activated. And the link below right here where it says solar projects detail status will take you to the specific schools and where they are and when their planned activation dates are. In addition to that, we're also looking at about 6 or so preliminary exploration as to potential other schools and facilities that might be good candidates for solar. We have put out an RFI, which is a request for information from various qualified vendors. I think we've got about 10 to date, and we will be reviewing those and using the information there to inform a request for proposal, which we hope to get done within the next couple of months so that we can look at establishing a master solar contract agreement where we would have at least anywhere from maybe 6 to 8 pre-vetted solar vendors. And as we deploy solar in our various schools, we can look to these vendors to hopefully help us operate and maintain those systems. So I thought I would just provide an example. I think this is in the way. Are you all seeing this? Let me move this out of the way. So I thought it'd be useful to just give folks an example of what it means to have renewable energy investments. And these are some of the benefits. So what we have here are 2 of our newest schools, New William Wirt and New Ellen Ochoa. So trying to compare apples to apples, these are all new schools. We don't want to obviously compare an old underperforming building to a new one. So these are relatively new buildings. So in terms of the renewable energy type, New William Wirt only has solar, and New Ellen Ochoa has solar and geothermal. And so what we see here is the annual kilowatt of electricity saved is 598, roughly, about 600 kilowatt hours. And we see for Ellen Ochoa, it's 1.4 million approximately. In terms of utility incentives captured, and by utility incentives, I mean things like rebates. They're at the federal government as well as the state government rewards entities that invest in renewable energy. And so what we see here is that with just solar alone, the incentives are about 167 for New William Wirt, but it's 455 for Ellen Ochoa. In terms of our annual utility bill savings, we have about roughly 70K for New William Wirt, and for Ellen Ochoa, we have 165. So what this says essentially is that the more we can stack renewable energy systems, the better cost savings we will all realize. And also in terms of indoor air quality. So basically using solar and things like geothermal keeps us away from using combustion fuel like gas and propane. So it makes it cleaner for the indoor air environment. So I guess students that suffer from things like asthma or upper respiratory problems will also benefit from that. So we all realize that we're in tough budget times. So the slide here is just to illustrate some of the innovative things we're doing and the creative thinking we are pursuing to help fund our projects and leverage resources. And grants, for example, most of those grants are coming from the state, by the way, because everyone knows that a lot of the federal opportunities and federal grants have been pulled away, have been clawed back. So we are relying heavily on state funds, mostly from the Maryland Energy Administration. We have applied for numerous Maryland Empower rebates, and these essentially are rebates that are given to schools and entities that help to install energy efficient, whether it's an HVAC system, whether it's LED lighting. So we are pursuing all of that. We are also pursuing under the Inflation Reduction Act IRA tax credits for our geothermal investments. And we're expecting anywhere for Ellen Ochoa, anywhere between maybe $3 to $5 million around that neighborhood. And also very importantly, collaborative partnerships. So what that looks like, it could be anything from just partnering with DOE, Department of Environment at the county level, the University of Maryland, where they provide staff support, just staff hours to help us achieve our missions. It could be joint partnerships in applying for various grant opportunities. And it could just be leveraging our different resources, such as like the databases that they may have. And another thing that we are considering, and we had a meeting with the State Department of General Services, where they give us a detailed presentation on the pros and cons of utilizing things called ESCOs, and ESCO stands for Energy Service Corporation. What does ESCO stand for again? Energy Service Corporations, I believe.
Yeah, energy
So, service.
companies. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I was going to say I just had a mental whatever. So yeah, so those essentially they will come in and they will, invest upfront, provide the upfront dollars for us to invest in, whether it's solar or an HVAC system, and then we pay for that over time, and they will be responsible for obviously operating and maintaining it. So this is something that, other institutions have used. We are not there yet, but it's something we're definitely considering in doing in tough financial times. Okay, so I guess this is an example of a partnership with the county executive. This is an upcoming event. They will be having a climate leadership summit on November the 20th. It's going to be at Bowie State. I think they just recently changed it. It was going to be at the Prince George's County. I believe it was the community center, but it's now at Bowie State. So in this partnership, we have a very heavy PGCPS presence, which is good. We have student voices. So we have 4 students. They're mostly seniors, I believe, 11. I think we might have one 11th grader, but mostly 12th graders. And they will be providing their voices on what they feel is the state or what their concerns are with regards to climate change and what we're doing. So I think that, the young kids are our future. So anytime we can engage them in these kinds of conversations, it's both beneficial to us as well as the students in terms of learning advocacy. We also have staff engagement. We will have representatives that will talk about what we're doing on the curriculum side. So things like how we audit our curriculum to make sure there's climate education that's involved in that. We also have board representation, specifically board member Buza Struthers will be facilitating a session at the Climate Leadership Summit. So this is a live link right here. So if folks are interested in attending, by all means, I think the registrations are still open. So you could just click on it and go ahead and register. So with that, just to summarize everything with regards to our energy efforts. So of course, the challenge is anemic data sets. We don't have a lot of data as a result to how we're using energy in our massive school system. Collecting the energy consumption data has also been challenging. A lot of it has been done manually over the past couple of years, and we're trying to fix that. And then there's obviously the infrastructure investments. It takes money to be able to invest in some of our renewable energy and energy efficient systems. So the solution obviously is energy consumption. I'm sorry, energy consumption data. I'm sorry, my thing is covered. I can't see what I wrote here. Let me just move it for a second here. Let me go back. Okay, so energy consumption data. We're working on that. We have a consultant who's working diligently with us so we can gather all the data from our baseline year, which will be 2022 to date, 2025. So we're almost there. It's probably going to take a couple of months for us to have all of that. And then we're also planning to be able to get the information directly from the utility company. So looking through utility bills, manual data entry, I mean, that just, as you can imagine, is very labor intensive. So to the extent that we can get it directly from the PEPCOs and the BG&Es of the world, then it'll make everybody's life a whole lot easier. And once we have those data in place, we can obviously analyze the data, we can monitor it, and it'll obviously inform good decision making. And of course, innovative project financing, I touched on that a little bit, which is essentially figuring out how we fund these projects and looking to our partners. And of course, with a happy face down there, the impact is obviously less time on data collection, and that gives us more time to obviously invest in the high impact sustainability initiatives. We'll obviously realize utility cost savings, as well as reduce carbon emissions and healthier indoor environments for our schools and our students. So that's it in summary. And the last slide is just a link to our website and how to get in touch with us. So with that, I'll end here and see if there's any questions.
Thank you so much, board members. Do we have any questions? I did have one quick question just about where we are in terms of onboarding new schools for our alternative energy sources.
Where we are, the new schools, you mean the P3 schools? Is that what you're referring to?
No, not the new constructions, but increasing the number of our alternative energy sources powering our schools overall.
Yeah, so if I could go back to the slide, I think I had a slide on here. So here is, I guess, a summary of where we are in terms of the renewable energy. So we have on the geothermal side, we have about 11 operational, 7 planned. And like I said, I do have a list of the schools here with me, but it's not on the slide. And in terms of the solar piece, this is just like a quick run. I'm not going to go through each and every single one of them, but this will give you a little bit of update as to like where we are in terms of activating it. So this is solar, that's a renewable source. So there's Hyattsville, there's Kenmore. I'm just kind of going to flick through it. I'm not going to read it. So hopefully that answers the question in terms of specific schools and where we are in terms of activation dates for solar specifically. Is that helpful?
Could you zoom in, especially since not all of our constituents at home are going to be able to click through and see all of these? So can you zoom in so we can at
Okay.
least see the schools?
Okay, so let me
Or
see
just voice
something.
them over for
Let
us.
me move the sliders. I'm sorry, say that again?
Just voice over the names of the schools
Sure.
for us
I
so
will.
that we have.
Let me see. So we have Colin Powell. Okay. We have Drew Freeman. We have Hyattsville Middle School. And we have Kenmore Middle School. And we have Sonia Sotomayor Middle School.
Thank you so much. And if we
Yeah.
could get the list of who the geothermal schools are as well, obviously.
Sure.
Have
And
them
I
right.
could
Love to
go
have
ahead. I'm
them.
sorry. Go ahead.
I was about to say, obviously, I know you don't have them right now, but we would love to
Well,
have
I
that.
can voice them right now, but then I could also provide a link. So right now we have Accokeek Farm. This is geothermal. Accokeek Academy, Avalon Elementary School, Barack Obama Elementary School, Edward M. Am I pronouncing this right? Edward M. Feligy. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. Eleanor Choa, Fairmont Heights, Glenarden Woods, Greenbelt Middle School, Oxon Hill High School, Tulip Grove Elementary School, and so those are the geothermal ones. I will also provide, I'm sorry.
That is awesome.
Okay. I will also provide the link. I will add it to the slide. That way, folks can, access it. Yeah.
We would greatly appreciate that. Thank
I
you.
sure will. You're quite welcome.
Dr. Anderson?
Yes, thank you. Thank you all for this presentation. Actually hoped to be able to attend some of the climate change committee meetings. I've been unable to attend, so glad to hear this presentation. A few quick follow-up questions. So following Board Member Goins McCants' questions about the actual locations, I'm sure this has been discussed elsewhere, but I'd be curious to hear, and maybe constituents as well who are learning about this for the first time, how are we selecting schools that receive, whether it be geothermal or the solar energy panels? How have they been selected? Or is there specific criteria? How are the locations selected? And then I'd also just have a recommendation that when sharing this information, and perhaps is visible elsewhere, to include the location of the schools,
Okay.
district or, city or what have you. So that's my first question. And then my second question is actually about data. So I know you mentioned there are some challenges with the data. I saw kind of the slide where you showed, kind of the apples to apples around cost savings and things like that. Can you speak specifically to what data we do have versus what data we don't? And those are my two questions.
Yeah. So in terms of the data that so basically with energy management, you have to have sort of like the baseline data, and then you, year after year, you sort of track it. Unfortunately, we don't really have any in terms of the energy tracking or energy usage, I should say. So we don't have that yet, and that's what we're working previously to try to achieve. In terms of what I shared earlier, so when you install these, either whether it's geothermal or it's solar, it comes with an estimated savings for the system once it's clean. So while we don't have the live data, so those numbers that I put forward shows you the savings of the system. But because a lot of these schools came like sort of, I believe Sonia Sotomayor came on like 2024, so we don't have those data yet. So it's just based on the specs from the systems.
Got it. So those are estimates
Yeah.
that are typically provided when you're, okay, I'm very familiar.
Exactly,
Okay.
for those two schools, exactly, right.
Thank- Okay, and then I know I have 10 seconds left, so that might need to be a second round with regard to my first
Okay.
question.
Sure.
Well, I can answer. Well, let me shut up and just see if it's a second round because I can answer the selection process and
Oh,
every
yeah, that was,
there. Yeah.
okay, go ahead, Jason.
Yeah, so first of all, as we go forward, our default will be every school that we build from now on, we will look
Right.
to find alternative energy sources. So if it's big enough for geothermal and also solar and any other sustainability methods that we can use on the schools, that is the default that we will utilize going forward. As it relates to every school that we are looking at now in the phase two of the P3, et cetera, I think 7 of the 8 schools will be geothermal schools, just out the box. That's just going to be our standard going forward. As it relates to now retrofitting existing schools, we had analysts go out and consultants go out that Director Morrison mentioned. They went out first and looked at all of our facilities and which ones were viable for solar based on the roof type, based on location. One thing for everybody to note is that, as you can probably imagine, it's more attractive to do solar closer to DC because they have the transmission line. There's it's just the way that it's structured in a way for solar companies. And so what Director Morrison, when she mentioned the RFI process, we are looking to figure out how we can bundle, and if it's possible to bundle multiple schools together so that we're able to take out of that 60 that we've identified, how many can we get in a bundle to deliver across the district and not just one off to use the purchasing power of the school system. So that's how we utilized them and identified the order is just which ones were viable, had roofs that can sustain it and or we can replace and utilize. And so that's how that initial list was determined.
Right. And yeah, I guess to your point, thanks for that, Jason. Yeah, I guess you did touch on the roof. So basically, they're talking to Director Sam Stefanelli. There are certain schools that have really, really, really bad roofs. And so there's a list in the pipeline of which ones to replace. So the thinking is that we could sort of, as we're replacing these roofs, as you all may or may not know, you can't really put like solar on, old dilapidated roof. It has to be in fairly decent conditions. So for those schools who have roofs that are failing, they would also be prioritized because the roof has to be replaced as well. Assuming everything else being equal, that it's in a location where you can have solar because it depends on the angle and all that. There's a lot of technical stuff that goes into which schools can qualify for solar. So wanted to add that as well.
Thank you so much for that.
Sure.
Yeah, that was incredibly illuminating. Board members, do we have any second round? Seeing none. The chair now recognizes Dr. Coleman for our Safety and Security Services Safe Passage updates.
Thank you so much, Board Member Goins McCants. Pedestrian safety is a school district priority. In support of this focus, last school year, the Board of Education supported the funding of the Safe Passage program. The Director of Safety and Security Services, Mr. Gary Cunningham, is here to provide a program overview and how the Safe Passage team collaborates with county government agencies and other stakeholders to promote student safety. Director Cunningham.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for allowing me to present to you this evening. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
You can.
All right, good. So yes, we do have our Safe Passage Coordinator program. We currently have two people assigned to that program. We've assigned them based upon geographical areas, Central Avenue being the dividing point. We've got one assigned to the northern area and one assigned to the southern area. A quick overview, Safe Passage program is a collaborative effort to ensure safety to our students as they walk to and from schools. We work with through partnerships with local agencies, parents, and we have not had much as far as volunteers go, but that's one of the next phases of our program. The definition of purpose is to be proactive, to look at some of the issues that our students encounter as they go to and from school, and to work with parents, school, law enforcement, government agencies, and to create safe environments. One of our biggest collaborators is the Department of Public Works and Transportation. Based upon our collaboration with them, they are starting to look at to involve us in the discussion as they improve roadways. They want to know where we're building new schools so they can kind of coincide the construction of their expansion of roadways. So student safety during transportation is vital, as we all know, and we want to look at educating our students, parents, and our staff to avoid incidents as kids walk to and from school. Again, we collaborate with parents, schools, law enforcement, internal departments, government agencies, as well as volunteers. One of the things that we started to do as we do our reviews, we've noticed that there are certain things that we can do within our facilities to improve the safe passage of our students to and from. So we work closely with facilities and the Department of Transportation as we address issues. Goals of the program are to address safety concerns that are identified and some that we identified. One of the things that we're looking at with the program is expanding it at some point and looking at doing traffic surveys for all of our schools. If funding allows, we'd like to get a traffic safety engineer to come out and identify safe walking routes for all of our schools at some point. Right now, we are pretty much incident driven or request driven, but that is one of our goals for being proactive. We use a national model of safety. It's a comprehensive approach used by National Transportation Board to look at safety issues as it relates to going to and from schools. First, we look at secure routes involving clearly designated paths. So we look at identified walkways, natural and unnatural. Occasionally you will have walkways that kids have passed through wooded areas and things of that nature. We try to look at those things and identify safe alternatives as it relates to walking routes. Active supervision, we want parents, school board personnel, police department, and anybody else to actively supervise our kids as they traverse to and from and identify potential risk as they are identified. Family engagement. We also want to involve parents in our programs. There are certain safe passage programs throughout the country where they have volunteers that assist students walking to and from school. Again, we've not gotten fully developed that part of the program, but we're looking to do that at some point. Educational awareness, we do participate in workshops, informational sessions, and work and observe drills as we some of our newer schools have come online. We've been asked to come out and look at them as they do safety drills, and we've done that. Again, partnerships, we work very closely with the Department of Public Works and Transportation, the police department and the crossing guard unit, and the district commanders. If there's an issue not necessarily related to a crossing guard or some other hazard, we work very closely with the police department and the district commanders to identify the issues, and oftentimes with the community policing officer assigned to that school. Youth empowerment, again, we do go out to the schools. We talk to students. We've had programs at Bowie State University, programs in Mount Rainier, and the Bike to Work bike to school program. We are participating in those programs as well. Parental involvement, again, is very key to what we do. We do attempt to involve the parents as much as possible. We ask them to report safety hazards, or if they have any questions or concerns, please reach out to us. We will work with Transportation Department, Police Department, and any other stakeholders to address potential risk and to resolve them as best we can. Again, parents are a pivotal part in addressing safety. We ask that they talk to their children about safe routes, not veering off the established walking routes, and make sure that we prepare them as safely as we can to get to and from school. And then we want to share some data with you. They've been busy, two people. Most of our complaints come in through the TRS system. So they've had a total of 137 assessments this year, and they've closed 116 of them. 21 are in progress. So what we're finding is that anything that says safety is automatically routed to our office, our safe passage coordinators. But then we find out that some people just want the bus stops moved, but there is not a safety issue. So those are referred back to the transportation department. And then oftentimes we will conduct a safety assessment at the sites. We'll include the transportation supervisor, Department of Public Works and Transportation, and oftentimes the police department if there's a safety concern. So we've got 75 complaints about safety concerns. Some of them we added bus stops, and 22 were bus stop safety. The assessments conducted were for the high schools, middle schools, and elementary schools. And then we have had a total of completed 75 in which the bus stop requests were denied. Again, some of them just mentioned the word safety, and it automatically triggers it to come back to us. It doesn't, because we denied it for a safety reason, doesn't mean that there's nothing that was done with it. It may be referred back to the transportation department for them to take a second look at it and identify another location for the stops. Additional bus stop requests 2, and no bus stop requested 15 of those cases. And some of the issues have been resolved prior to the assessment. And then some of the issues result in crossing guard requests, facility services requests. Again, some of them are dealing with sidewalks that may be in front of our schools. It may be extending a parking lot. It may be adding lights. Those are internal issues that we work with facilities folks on. And then DPWT, timing of lights. We have issues with buses and parents getting in and out of schools, creating a hazard. We work with DPWT, and they've actually worked on changing the timing of the lights, which helps us get traffic in and out. Just an idea of some of the things that they're doing. Again, they're busy, they're working, they're out there, and I think we're getting our money's worth from them. Just a couple of success stories. Deerfield Run, we had an incident where they complained about a safety issue. I'm not going to go into all the details, but what we ended up doing was we conducted an assessment, arrival and dismissal, a team meeting with DPWT, the police department, and our staff, a walkthrough to assess the traffic flow, assisted in develop a traffic safety video for the school, provided on-site support, implementation of new traffic safety plan. So there are instances where we actually go out, we coordinate with our partners, and we come up with a solution for that problem. Some of the things that we'll be doing also, Youth Transportation Summit at Bowie State University, the Walk, Bike, and Roll event for Mount Rainier Elementary School, and the National Walk, Ride, and Roll to School Day at Thomas Stone Elementary School. So they're out there, they're working. We're trying to be proactive. We're trying to get our message out there in the community. But it is, again, there are two folks, and our turnaround time for closing the time that the request comes in and the time that we actually get out to the inspection is within 7 days. So we're getting out to these complaints oftentimes within 24 to 48 hours, but no more than 7 days from the time that it comes to our office. And that is all I have. I will take any questions now.
Thank you so much. Board members, do we have any questions? I do have one. If you could let us know exactly what is I guess the process that you go through to determine whether or not a complaint that comes through the system is actually safety related versus it's something that can be sent to transportation or sent back to transportation.
Sure, we have an assessment tool that we'll use, and I can forward that to you all.
We greatly appreciate that. And I guess the second part of that, when on that slide that you gave us, you could just go back to that slide where you showed us the results of all of the investigations. What's the difference between where it says like additional stops, no stop requested, not related to a bus? Can you explain? Yep, transportation resolution system assessments, that section.
So we're
So
talking,
request
okay,
denied,
okay.
additional bus stop request,
Right.
none.
So
Yeah.
oftentimes they will ask us to move a stop or to add a stop. So based upon safety reasons. So if they say that for instance, they may say that there are no sidewalks and we go out and we see sidewalks. So that request will be denied for the safety reason. However, the transportation department may look at it and say, hey, it's outside of the walk zone. So they may add it. So we may deny it for that specific reason. Again, additional bus stop requests, special needs, if there's some special reason they think that they should have a bus stop. Again, no sidewalks, we will assess that. And then no bus stop requested, but they're complaining about the bus stop itself, then we will look at that to determine what needs to be done.
Thank you.
Sure.
Board Member Walker, did you put your hand down? Nope,
No, I
expected.
didn't.
Board Member Walker?
Thank you so much. Director Cunningham, thank you for this information. I'm sorry if I missed this piece. I wanted to talk a little bit about the additional requests initiated section on here. So I feel like District 9 might be all of them. I don't really know, I'm just joking. But I know that we have had several crossing guard requests. I know you all have worked with DPW&T for a number of issues that we have at a number of my schools. I know you all are familiar. And so what I'm looking for here is of these assessments, when there's recommendations from those, where do we see any follow-ups or where it is, what the status is on these?
So what I've asked my staff to do is if they make a request for a crossing guard, then they follow up with them 30 days after the request is made to see where we're at. Some of the, and oftentimes the police department can tell us, yes, we'll be onboarding staff within 2 weeks, so we'll have a particular date. But with DPWT, they may have plans to address our issue in 6 months or a year. So if they tell us it's going to be a year from now before they can address it, then we have to figure out some type of alternative. So they have been directed to monitor the issue, to get updates from the agency that they've referred it to, just so we'll know exactly where we are.
Okay, so when I look at this total number of assessments, what does that mean? Is it that the Safe Passage Coordinator has done an assessment 6 times or has noted 6 times that there's been crossing guard requests? How do I read this number?
So out of the 137 total numbers, 6 of them have been crossing guard requests. 6 of them have been referred for work to be done within our facilities, and 8 of them have been referred to the Department of Public Works and Transportation for some service.
Perfect. And then finally, the last question is, I'm sure you do, but how can we see for those 3 categories, what schools they're related to?
The last 3 crossing guard facilities services requests at DPWT.
Yes.
I can get that data and forward it.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm really looking
Sure.
to see specifically in District 9, which ones are they, but it would be good for us to kind of see all of them, I imagine. Yeah, thank you.
Sure.
I want to really see if it's on par with, because I know that we have a internal system that we use in order to communicate those needs. So I just want to see if they're on par with each other. I would imagine the answer is yes.
So what I will tell you is that the southern area, because it's so spread out and there's not as many sidewalks, there are more requests for those type of services down there than we see in the northern end. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, just want to get a follow-up. Thank you.
Sure.
Board members, do we have any interest in a second round? Seeing none, thank you so much, Director Cunningham
Thank you.
and Dr. Coleman.
Thank you.
And with that, we will move on to our general budget update. The chair recognizes Mrs. Howell, our Chief Financial Officer, for the budget calendar update.
Good evening. Thank you, Committee Chair Goins McCants. Good evening, community. My name is Lisa Howell. I'm the Chief Financial Officer, and I'm joined this evening with Director Siobhan Smith. We'll be providing an update on our overall early budget projection process for 2027, or early budget projections, I should say. It begins with understanding where we finished off for fiscal year 25, because that sets the stage for where we are at the current fiscal year, and where we're anticipated to end in the current fiscal year will impact our budget assumptions for fiscal year 2027. So Director Smith will walk us through let's go to those three timeframes as we begin to lay the foundation for 27. We are going to have a more extensive presentation during the board meeting tomorrow, but we'll give you a little bit of preview of what will be discussed at that time. So at this time, I will turn it over to Director Siobhan Smith.
Good evening, everyone. I am going to share my screen. And like everybody else asked, can everybody see?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, thank you. And I am cognizant of the time, so I will do my best to get through these things as quickly but as thoroughly as possible. So good evening. As Chief Howell mentioned, my name is Siobhan Smith, Director of Budget and Management Services. And I'm just going to walk through a budget update, and we are going to start with, let's talk about fiscal year 25 and how we ended the year. As you can see here, we realized about 98.6% of our revenue, 97.8% of our expenditures. However, also just want to take your eyes down to that last table that talks about fund balance, where we see a decline in our fund balance of about $157 million. And just to refresh your memory, fund balance, that's like our savings account. And so it's really, really important that we have a healthy fund balance. So we're going to get a little bit more into what the fund balance looks like as we went through fiscal year 25. So we started the year with about 373 million or so. And then we ended the year at about 216.7 million, which is about a 42% spend down from fiscal year 24. In there, we have categories, non-spendable. We do assign fund balance for a very specific reason. And then whatever's remaining is our unassigned fund balance. In this case, inventories and prepaid expenses is non-spendable. We can't spend it. It's not cash for us to use. However, we assigned use of fund balance for our fiscal year 26 budget of $95 million. And then we have a reserve for future obligations of about $80 million designated in our fund balance. And that $80 million is assigned primarily for, like I said, potential obligations, specifically surrounding a lot of the federal and local uncertainty. It's no surprise that right now, we know that our state is facing fiscal challenges. We know that our county is facing fiscal challenges. And then there's just a lot of economic uncertainty at the federal level as well. So we, Prince George's County Public Schools, we follow the GFOA standard that recommends no less than 2 months of your operating budget, those expenditures be in your fund balance. And right now we are less than a month with this current fund balance. And so that does provide us with a cause for concerns. So now that we set the stage for 25, we're going to transition into fiscal year 26, which is our current fiscal year. And we're going to talk a little bit about spending pressures. And all spending pressures, when we use that terminology, we're just talking about potential challenges where our costs are increasing or rising without necessarily a funding source or a revenue source to offset it. So good news story. Our HR department has been busy working. They have heavily recruited. So that means we have fewer vacancies than originally anticipated. The flip side to that is that now that creates a spending pressure for a couple of reasons. One, we factor in an assumption for what we call salary lapse, or the savings that we have with our vacancies or just due to natural attrition. And then in addition to that, our salary increases that we have negotiated, we do it based off of a point in time, based off of the employees we had on hand. When that fill rate increases or that vacancy rate decreases, that creates a gap. So we're tracking that for fiscal year 26. You know, we always want to make sure that we are flexible and able to cover our transportation costs that may incur, depending on where we are with our bus driver needs. So that's always on the radar. In addition to transportation, we always have rising special education costs. There's been a push to maybe augment some of our vacancies regarding special education with contracted services. And as you know, that can be quite expensive. So that is also on our radar. And then as we mentioned earlier, federal funding uncertainty. We do not know what is happening or what may potentially happen. But what we do know is that we are seeing a reduction in our Medicaid reimbursement. We are seeing a reduction in that. We are always watching very closely what's going on at the federal level regarding food and nutrition services. We just never know what's going on with that. And then we are still kind of on standby regarding the pending ESSER 3 reimbursements. We've liquidated the funding, but we have not quite received reimbursement for all of our ESSER 3 funds yet. And so as a result of all of that, we are trying to be very careful, cautious, and strategic with how we are using fund balance going forward. We want to reserve a good amount in order to pivot just in case, you know, we have contingencies or unplanned, unexpected events or outcomes that happen that we need to fund. So with every challenge, we have to have a mitigation plan. So some of our mitigation, we need to really review our substitutes. You know, if we have less vacancies, then the expectation is that we should have a lesser need for substitutes. And then we also want to make sure that how our classrooms are covered in the case of a vacancy, that we are moving in the most efficient manner possible for that. Proactively managing overtime. Overtime is a given. We know that we are going to have to pay out overtime. However, we just want to make sure that we're monitoring it very closely and that we are using overtime as a necessity and nothing more than that. We want to make sure that we're engaging with our families, to update their income status, which could impact the eligibility for our free and reduced price meals, as well as Medicaid eligibility. As we mentioned before, we're seeing a reduction in Medicaid reimbursements. We just want to make sure that our families are aware. I know that Director Kirkland spoke to this earlier, and she's doing a really great job, but that has a direct tie to our funding. And then also we want to make sure that we're prioritizing the hiring of critical positions. And so some of our central office, non-essential positions, we are back on a hiring freeze for those. Cutting non-essential discretionary spending. So there's some spending that we have, and we're not saying it's not important. We're not saying that it's not, you know, needed, but we have to discern nice to have versus must have. And so as nice as it is to upgrade your furniture when your chair is getting a little rickety or going on non-local travel, I think for right now, we have kind of halted the spend on that. And then lastly, we need to work towards reevaluating our systemic contracted services. So we want to make sure that we, once again, are maximizing contracted services. If it's for the same service with the same vendor, there's no need to have multiple contracts, right? So it just requires us to kind of take a pause and do a review. And so now we're going into our budget reduction strategies. I talked a little bit about those earlier. So eliminating vacant positions. We really need to, so long-term vacant positions, those positions that have been vacant or the hard to fill positions that have been vacant year over year over year, we may have to give those up. And I say may potentially because everything requires analysis and review. Reduction in non-personnel discretionary spend. So we kind of talked about a little bit, central office level and our schools. There are certain sub-objects in our budget that we're like, yeah, I just think we need to cut, eliminate, reduce. We talked about reduction in overtime and substitutes, which should align with our lower vacancy rates. Again, good news story, but we hope to see savings because of it. We want to do a review of the programs and our offerings, particularly at our school level. Our schools are having to fund whatever programming exists at the school. But with Blueprint, we know that the funding is not allocated that way, and that is law. And so we are asking principals and schools to shoulder the weight of current programming with new school allocations. So there just needs to be a meshing of that, and it just needs to be evaluated. And then as always, we want to maximize our grant funding. We really need to make sure that, okay, what can be funded on a grant to take some of this pressure on the general fund? We need to take some of that pressure off. So where there is an opportunity to maximize grant funding, I think we need to. And that is my presentation, open for any questions.
Thank you so much. Board members, do we have any questions? Wow. Okay. I'm seeing no questions. I feel like I'm always the one being like, I have one thing. Can you explain to us more about the significance of the fund balance? Because we know we had a lot of conversation around fund balance last year with negotiations and people trying to figure out us talking about the difficult budget season. Can you give us some more information about the significance of that and why those 2 months of operating expenses are so important?
Absolutely. So when you think about our fund balance, you think about your own personal savings account. You don't want to use your savings account to pay your everyday operating expenses. You wouldn't want to rely on your savings account to pay your mortgage or utilities or just even gas, food, your groceries. That should be for contingencies, emergencies, or something long-term that you plan for. You're going to go on a family vacation, or you know that you want to purchase a new car and you want to have a down payment. One-time costs, contingencies, and we always need to be prepared for the unexpected. And so fund balance gives us that opportunity. You want to be prepared in case something happens, and we don't want to be stuck where we know we don't have enough in our reserves to cover on something, especially now with so much economic uncertainty swirling around us at every level of government. And so last year there was a lot of concern because when people looked at Prince George's County Public Schools fund balance, they thought they were comparing it to other LEAs within the state. And that is perfectly understandable. However, I don't know what standard other LEAs are using, but I know for us, we prefer the GFOA standard. That is what we're using. And we know that once you use it, if you don't have a plan to replenish it, it is gone. So depending on your fund balance to cover everyday costs, and the thing about salary increases is once it happens, you not only have to sustain it, but we know that it compounds year over year over year over year over year. And if there's no plan, and if revenue is not keeping pace with that level of escalated spending, it creates a pressure.
Thank you so much for that detailed response. And if there are no further questions from the board, I would like to notify the public that the next virtual Operations, Budget, and Fiscal Affairs Committee meeting will be on December 17th, 2025. Please continue to check the Prince George's County Board of Education website for meeting information and updates. Thank you all for being here today. To our viewers, thank you for watching. And there being no further business, the time is now 7:01, and the November 12th, 2025 Operations, Budget, and Fiscal Affairs Committee meeting is adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Great.
Are we in turn?